Hey, brother Wes, what's up?
Man, we've done three of our we'll call them rack and stacks, even though we didn't rack or stack today. We've done three people, and today's our third of the people that are in the industry.
I know, isn't that amazing? And even Joe on the first one was sort of semi in the industry he serves the industry, but yeah, the last three are rock solid in the industry, and you don't get any more rock solid in the industry than a great roll former and Best Buy Metals out of the Tennessee, and they might be in another location or two. Nate'll clear us up on that, but yeah, it's great to have. Nathan Libbey with us today. He's a great young guy. Of course, I say young guy because I can say that to almost anybody we'll ever have on the show, other than Ben Gay. Might be the only guy older than me. Yeah, but anyway.
Sorry, Ben.
Sorry, Ben. I didn't mean. Truth hurts, Ben. Anyway, but he's the director of IT and corporate development. Big title. I told him I had to charge him for that one. It's 12 letters more than I like to say. But for Best Buy Metals, down in Tennessee, in the Knoxville area, Cleveland, other areas down in the deep South, and these guys have been studs in the industry forever, and they're the actual. They roll form metal and supply materials and supply products and just darn good at what they do. And, Nathan just a great fount of information. Is that a fountain? Because I don't think it's a fountain. Is it a fountain of information? It's a fountain.
It can be. I mean, you just said it, so it must be something.
Hey, if I said it, it's right. Besides that, it's our show, so I can say what I want. So he's a fountain of information. I'm going to use it because I like it. Anyways, you look good today? Feeling good? Everything's good?
Everything's dynamite.
Good, man. All right, buddy. Well, let's go get Nathan because he's sitting over there wondering if we're going to shut up and bring him in, I'm sure. So we should.
All right, let's go get him.
You want to? Let's do it.
Yes.
All right. There he is. How you doing, brother?
I am phenomenal. How are you doing, Randy?
Okay, enough with the big words already. I know you're smart. So he uses phenomenal, Wes, right out of the gates. I already got to charge you $12 for the extra 12 letters in your title that I normally can't handle. Whew, we're getting off on a bad foot, buddy.
Spectacular.
Oh, I see that one's easy. I could spell that one at least.
Phenomenal starts with F, I think.
It does. I think so. Before the advent of using AI more for certain things, I used to change words sometimes or Grammarly and those. I would change words when I'd write because I couldn't get it to spell it. So I just said, screw it, I'll change it to a different word because I'm never going to figure out how to spell it. Now it's easier because you just stick it in and it fixes it for you. But boy, before that, I had some difficulty with spelling words and speaking words.
Yeah, I like words that are understandable or phonetically spellable. So growing up, I did a lot of reading. So you learn about plaid. I thought it was called plaid.
It should be.
Yeah, and all the stories about the Illinois. You just those great words to learn phonetically that shouldn't be.
Exactly, because where did that come from? I mean, who sat one day and said, let's call this word Illinois? The other one that drives me nuts is, and there's a lot of them, and I think a good friend of both of ours. I'm sure you know John Knable, right? John's a good friend of mine, and he and Newt Rockney are both. It's both the same. There's no way that's Knable. It's Nable. I mean, but
it's got to be silent.
It's just but see, he puts the Knable in it, so he pronounces the K. Newt Rockney doesn't pronounce the K. It makes no sense to me. So I don't like it.
Maybe it's a pick or choose.
It could be.
The odd wording. It's potato.
Exactly. So from now on, John is going to be Nable. I'm just going to call him John Nable. Let's do it. Next time you see him, you just say, "Hey, John Nable. Good to see you."
And I probably called him that.
I call some stuff. I get some words mixed up, but you're right. Phonically, sometimes our English language is so, I don't know where we got on this, but our English language is so stupidly hard to understand at times. I'll admit, and then we'll get into something more important, but I'll admit it was like 5 years ago before I finally very comfortably and 99% never used the wrong your. I mean, I was always getting the wrong one up till 5 years ago, probably. none of it's none made sense. But I figure out ways to do that. I say the words out long, like you are. I'll say it in my head, you are, so I don't forget to do it. But some of that is, and I'll say too, I'll say the word in my head also. But then I'll write it as TO. That reminds me, because I still screw that up once in a while, just out of habit. Because I did the high school thing. My MO there was to make the teachers irritated with me enough that nobody wanted to keep me, so they just kept passing me. That was the plan.
Hey, if it works,
and it works well, except for I can't.
Was homeschooled, and my teacher did the same thing.
Man, what a bad teacher! So that's funny. So homeschool, that's good. I got a granddaughter who's going to homeschool her kids starting this year, so I think that's
it's for some parents. Me and my wife sent our kids to a private school. It's interesting, but I could teach adults. I don't have the patience for kids. Not for 4 to 6 hours a day. So
that'd be tough.
Yeah. I love teaching adults.
Oh yeah. And I love my grandkids more than you can imagine, obviously. But yeah, there's a reason that young people are parents, because that the patience level goes real fast at times. It's like, okay, we stop asking. Just, okay, I told you 3 times. I got no other answer. Just because. Well, why? Because Papa's old and he said so. Can we just stop now? You want a sucker? Want a pop? I'll get you a Coke. I don't care. If you just stop asking questions.
Distractions definitely work.
Yeah, they do. How about a piece of pie and a Coke? Perfect. Chocolate shake with that, a donut, anything. Just don't ask me why again, because I already gave you all I know, and that's not much. But so let's get rolling. So Best Buy Metals. Tell us before we get too far, Nathan. Who is Best Buy Metals? Tell us how you started. Tell us where you are, and maybe give us your why, because everybody has a why. Why are you guys in business? I mean, and it's more obviously than just, well, we wrinkle some tin and sell some screws and some stuff, right? I mean, that's what you do. But what's the why of Best Buy Metals?
Yeah, so we're going into our 25th year. Started in a little storefront here in Cleveland, Tennessee, and really. Isaac saw an opportunity, really a need in the community. At that point, there was a roll former that was in the area that just honestly wasn't offering a level of service that he felt could be offered, and really just start off small. We were reselling, and just offering that service. You're answering the phone, then you're running out and jumping on the forklift and loading up the customer. So grown a lot since then, to where we started manufacturing. We grew into Chattanooga, Asheville, Greenville, Charlotte, Knoxville, and Dalton. And we also have a national division, actually it's about 18 years now, that supports not just your traditional ag panel standing seam, but you would manufacture a metal tile profile. We sell a lot of embossed siding that maybe is a little different than what you can run out on a lot of your typical manufacturing machines. And then also we work with partners to ship metal nationwide. So the why, I think for us, it always goes to providing for families, not just the owner's family, not just my own family, but also being able to offer jobs and opportunities for people to grow, and to do it the right way. For our contractors to be able to be what we say we are consistently, day in and day out. Isaac's also heavily involved in a mission work in Haiti, with the orphanage there that really does a lot of the director level support with there, and in our community as well, heavily involved in just a lot of different efforts. I think those are a lot of the whys. I mean, you get to a certain point and I'm sure he could retire comfortably, but there's a lot more he wants to do to be able to enrich people. And the same for me is, first and foremost, I got 3 boys and they eat a lot. And so for me, that's a lot of the why right now.
Yeah.
but also just to build a future for people that allows them to, not only for ourselves, but even for our contractors. That's where we do so much in training, to allow them to do things the right way and grow a business that's just sustainable.
I love it. So let's wander into that word, because you hit a word that I'm a big believer in and I love is training. So, and I know that you guys are there. So let's talk about that, because I know one thing about you guys. You're really big on the training, and not just anybody can probably go find some money somewhere and find an investor, and they can throw some machinery in and buy some coil, and you're a roll former, right? But
Sure.
you go a lot further, and it doesn't do a lot of good as a supplier. I'm a supplier. If I don't help you to be better at what you do, and to help you sell more for yourself, so you're more profitable, and along the way you'll probably buy more stuff from me too, right? So I think training is a huge deal. And is that always been a philosophy with Isaac way back, or is that something you've grown into over time? Because obviously you're much more than just, hey, I'll roll off some metal for you and have it for you tomorrow if you need it, right? That's the easy part, right?
Yeah, day one. So Isaac was a contractor before he started Best Buy Metals, and from that perspective, he understands you can't just have the stuff. You have to have the people that are experienced, and you have to have the backing from somebody that tells you, fill in the gaps for the things you don't know. And I think that we had our own crew for about 10 years until we realized that we were competing with our customers, and it's better to enable them than to compete with them. But what that gave us is a backbone of one of our trainers that is installed over 4,000 roofs.
Wow.
And you build that to the technical side. And like from a contractor's perspective, some of them are providing equal work to what he could do, but we're adding new products that they may have not ever looked at. So if they may be good at through fasten, they may be good at standing seam. Well, what about a new technique for standing seam? What about a new product? But also, what about some of these other systems that they haven't looked into sufficiently to know if it's worth their time, if it's worth their investment to take that big jump?
Yeah. That makes sense. I like that. And that kind of falls in a little bit, as since we're talking about training and a lot of what you spend your time with. You was telling me off camera that, IT is part of it, but that's an ongoing thing. But business development, opportunity development is where you spend a lot of your time. And I might have missed one of the words, but you had mentioned teams, processes, events, and you might have said something else, but I love the idea that you're putting a lot of time into those kind of things. You're working on, you just said it, you're building teams, you're building the processes, you're doing the events that bring the people in, that help train them or help expose them to products. So I would ask the question this way, but you've kind of already answered it, but maybe I'll give you a little more room on that if you want. That's pretty important, right? I mean, a lot of guys say, why is that important? I open up and I roll some metal. I mean, people call in and they order metal and I roll it and ship it. But like I said, again, I don't want to make that sound easy, because it's not. But I think it's still, having been in this industry forever, that's the easier part than some of the stuff that you do. You tackle the hard stuff and do it well. So maybe expand on all that. Why do you spend so much time yourself to work on teams and process and events? Obviously, it's important to you guys.
For sure. So teams, the goal of a team, first of all, you have to find a need. If you can find where are we at? Do we have teams that aren't where they need to be? Do we have teams that need to exist? And can you get them to the point where they're self-sustaining? So like thinking about the events team, we have two main types of events. We're outbound or we're inbound. Outbound, we're going to home shows. We're hitting large community events. It has to be worth the time. If you go and you're able to reach out to 5 people, they better be the great 5 people. They better be really high level contractors. But if you're not reaching out to them outside of just the online presence, you got the I love the hybrid warrior perspective, because you got to have both.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be online. You have to be digital. But if you have that and you don't have some rubber in it, then you're missing the personal aspect that you only get when you put a tent out in front of your business and you say, guess what? It's Customer Appreciation Day. We're going to give out 800 to 1,200 meals, and we're going to start by inviting our contractors, but we're going to open that up to first responders. We're going to start after that. That's literally the second thing I saw on the list is customers, and then community servants, and then from there, just the ability to pull people in a way that does cost, but you're able to open up conversations. You're able to open up opportunities, and then also on the training events. So you start where you're at, and we're really have kind of an east side, what we call east side is the Carolinas, and west side Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, where we're able to develop teams and systems that will benefit our contractors. We're not going to show them everything new. Sometimes they show us stuff, and we can gather that and learn from that. And sometimes we show them just a few things that will save them time or allow them to close deals. And that's what it's all about for us when it comes to community, is how can we learn and build those relationships and build our customers. And
yeah, it's a major give back, and I think that you should be commended for that. I mean that's an amazing thing. Back to teams for a minute too. So I love to talk about about people. You need to invest in people. When's the time to invest in people? That's an open-ended question, but Nathan, when do you invest in people? I'm just going to leave it as open.
Yeah, I think so. One of my responsibilities is we have what we call the estimating team, and it is 5 men and women that just help put together drawings and reports for customers. And when to invest in people starts with when is it more than not just what you can handle right now, but you got to get ahead of it. If you wait to hire a person until you're at 60 hours, 70 hours, it's too far.
Right.
If I wait until those 5 people have to work 80 hours a week to accomplish what we need to accomplish, I've not invested in people soon enough.
Right.
So you have to look at the workload. The other thing you have to look at is vision. Not only what are we doing, but what should we be doing, and how to invest in people. And sometimes that's not always in-house. Sometimes that can be a partner. Sometimes that can be a marketing team that isn't in-house. But if you don't invest in those people before you get to the point where you're at 40 hours of need, you've waited too long.
Right. I love that. And that's spot on. That's what I've always felt like is different people say it a different way, but you said it very well. You gotta have a vision and not just do it just because, but at the same time, so many people wait until, like you said, you need to invest before you need them, and not after it's, because after all of a sudden you put a lot of stress on the process, a lot of stress on people. You take a risk of losing somebody good because of the stress level you put on them, right? It's and plus there's a spool up time, right? You don't just hire. If you got 5 estimators, you recognize the need for the 6th. They're going to be like, you're still 5 the first few weeks, right? Because what do they know? It's not, they're not ready yet. So and you're probably actually putting a little more effort on your existing people because they're probably spending some time helping train them, right? So it's well before, that's the hard part, right? From management is, how do I decide when that time is, and how do I get ahead of it?
And I think if you're working with an existing team, the biggest thing is ask them. So I think that's if you have people that you're able to have open communications with, that know you're not just trying to hire somebody to push them out, that you're not trying to hire somebody to turn them all part-time. They know that you're going to be there to back them up. But you have to hire people that are willing to flex. Like in the
Mhm.
slow times, if they can't find something to be active on, that's tough. In the busy times, if they're not willing to put in 4 or 5 hours overtime a week, that's tough. So you still have to have people that can flex.
Right.
But so if you hire a 6-person and they're all working 25 hours and now you're paying for dead time, you've overhired.
Right.
But I think that's the biggest thing for me is if you have that open communication with your team, and also tracking. So we think about the ability to say, okay, this is how many quotes, this is how many drawings we did for the last 12 months. Increase year to year is this. If we don't hire somebody in the next 3 months, y'all are all going to be in trouble. I think so. The numbers is also part of it. So if you have that communication and the numbers to back it up.
So, and one last question, and we can continue that, but there's a couple of things I really want to make sure we touch on. Anything you want to touch on, but with people, are you a believer in being like very stringent? I mean, there's exact rules, and we don't step out of any boundaries. Or do you feel like you need to give people the guidance and the parameters, but allow people to have some flex? Have some flexibility to have, because the people that know the best about whatever job they're doing, right? I think you agree with me, is the person doing the job, right?
Yep.
Not somebody else. So where do you fall on that? Because I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer. I'm just always interested in that question.
It's dependent on the person, is a lot of it, and the task at hand. So my favorite people, first of all, is because of my role, I cannot babysit. I will not babysit. If I have to babysit you, it's not going to work out. So that's the first thing. If I have to tell you everything you need to do, it's not going to work out. So those type of people, that's the first thing, is I can't work with those people. Second thing is, if you hire the people that are right for the job, you should be asking them more of the questions than they asking you when it comes to changes, when it comes to how to do something. If you hire the wrong person, they'll always have to ask you. If you hire the right person in the beginning, they'll have to ask you. But at some point, they will grow to the point where you can be comfortable saying, either, number one, what do you think about this? That's the biggest thing. What do you recommend? And then the second thing is, this is my favorite. Whatever you choose will be correct.
Love it.
When you can get to the point where you trust somebody to make the right decision for the question at hand, just giving them that power is good for you, because you don't have to deal with it, but it's good for them because they know you trust them in that that thing. And that's what it's all about.
Well, and in that situation, Nate, that I see such a positive of that, because now, like you said, you're free to do what other things you need to do. They're free to do their job. They feel empowered to do their job. And as long as they know that I'm trained and I know what I'm doing, I'm going to, I don't want to say take the risk, but I'm going to roll the dice on this and do it this way because this is what I think we ought to do, and know that they've got the backing, which I think is what you're saying is, okay, I mean, if at the end of the day, this one didn't go exactly right, nobody's losing their head over this thing, right? We'll just talk about what went wrong and we'll fix it, and maybe we just won't do that again, right? But you got to have that ability, because if not, people get paralyzed, right? And then they won't do anything.
Well, and that's the key, I think, is you're trying to find that balance. Like yesterday, I left a younger gentleman a to-do list. We have a training coming up next Wednesday in Asheville, and I gave him we sat down and worked through the list of what we need to bring. And if we have an event here in Cleveland, if I need to come grab something, I'll grab it. If we drive 4 hours to Asheville, if we forget something, it's bad. Mm-hmm. But we worked together on the list. This is every tool, this is every component, this is all the stuff that we're going to cut up, this is all the stuff we're going to bend. And then, but when it was time to go get it, I said, I didn't actually tell him. He knew where a lot of it was, but I just trusted him, and he got another gentleman to help him to go get it. In the end, there were a few things he needed, But what I didn't want to do is go out there and follow him around
Right.
and say, okay, now that's where to go get this one. Because at the end of the day, if I can trust him, he's not going to go goof off. He'll tell me when he needs something. He'll
Mm-hmm.
tell me when he needs me. And I think that's my philosophy is if you hire those people, now if you hire the other people, you find out just as quick as you can,
Right.
and hopefully they'll learn something from the short experience at where you're at.
Exactly. I love that. Hey friends, it's Randy here, the owner of Source One Marketing, iBuyFromRandy.com, and I got to tell you, we are proud to sponsor the Building Wins Live podcast and vlogcast. We have 4+ decades in this beautiful industry of supplying materials, supplying services, supplying marketing assistance, and we just are proud to sponsor Building Wins Live and some great guests that we have every single week, many of them from our beloved industry and many of them from outside the industry that still bring some incredible content. So make sure to check us out at iBuyFromRandy.com and let us know what you think about this show. For now, thanks for checking this out. Let's get back to the show. Switching gears slightly, we've talked about it, and it's obvious. I've kind of always felt this with you guys, but in talking to you, there's a relationship factor that's pretty important to everybody there at Best Buy. And I understand that within the business. How about relationships with your customers, with your contractors, or your do-it-yourselfers, or whomever you're dealing with? Because there's always that big question is, it's price, quality, service. You need all that. You got to have a good product, whatever the widget and the stuff is you're selling's got to be good. But in your opinion and in your experience, how important is it that you build that good relationship with that customer base? And you do some of it because of all these things that you do, setting up the tent and serving 1,500 meals. That's certainly relationship building, right? But I feel like you put quite a bit of effort into and believe in building the relationship beyond just I just roll for them some metal and stuff. Is that accurate? And why is that important?
Yeah, for sure. So relationships get you over the hurdles. I think this is been married 10 years last Friday.
Congrats.
And
I didn't send a card, but I will.
if our relationship was built on the laughs and the good times only, there's times it wouldn't have lasted.
Right.
But she, my wife has always treated me right. I've always treated her right. And that the relationship piece is what gets you over the hurdle in any kind of relationship, because there will be hard times. We will screw up on something. A contractor will screw up on something. And it's in those times that, first of all, there are opportunity for building a relationship. If you can be honest about the situation, don't make it all about the money.
Mm-hmm.
If it's all about the money, then I won't treat you right because I'm all about me.
Right.
But if I look at this situation of I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm going to do probably one more thing past that because I care about our relationship and I care about you as a person. And I think that that relationship side of it, if you build that up over time, when you do hit a hard time, you hit maybe we mess up, they'll give us a second chance. If we mess up and there's no relationship, there's no loyalty, because
Right.
why would they stick with you after you messed up, after you
Right.
didn't do what they thought should be done in that scenario?
Yeah. And so once what I'm reading into that is, or partially, and well said, but is once you have no relationship, everything becomes transactional, and transactions walk down the road every day, right? Transactions are this steakhouse and this steakhouse. It's $40 more to go to this steakhouse, but why do I always go there? Because I like the people. I like the atmosphere. I like the fact that if I walk in, they already set a Dr. Pepper on the table for me because they know what and so that's worth more money, right? But if it becomes, I get mad and I don't like them and I just go there because it's cheaper, then I only go there until the next place pops up 3 miles down the road that's cheaper, because we have nothing, right, other than transaction. But you let stuff go into transaction mode only, and that's a prescription for failure in my mind. It's not the place you want to be.
It's the little and the big things. it's the little and the big things where you have the little things, just listening, and you have the big things, which are problems. So if you handle the little things, a trim wasn't right, you take it serious. Then when you get the big things and you take those serious too, that the relationship side of it. And the other thing is even the harder thing, I think, is showing a new or potential customer that you can offer them that same relationship of somebody that you've worked with for 10, 20, 25 years. That's what I like about the events. That's what I like about pulling in new contractors or outside sales reps hitting the roads is you drop off some drinks, you drop off some Gatorades. It's not a lot, but if you do it in a way that's not salesy, it's not the high pressure, it's just, how can I help you? That to me is the two sides of the relationship, is the existing customer and a customer that if I didn't ever ask my wife if she wanted to go on a date with me, we definitely would have not been married. And if I hadn't asked her the third and the fourth time, it took me 10 years to get that lady. That's all I'm saying. So you're going to have to, sometimes you have to show somebody that you're going to be the same, and doing that when they haven't bought 100K in the last few months is a little harder, but it's possible.
It is. Well, I think you hit on something there. I was just thinking about as I was listening is we all know, and I always caveat this because certain people will misunderstood maybe what I'm saying. You have to have the transactions. Otherwise, none of us get paid, right? I mean, we got to sell some stuff, right? So set that aside. That's a known. That's a given. But it's how we get to it and how we keep them and the relationships we build. Because with relationships, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when those things do go bad, and they will, no matter what, no matter how good you are, regardless of people, processes, systems, stuff just happens. You don't lose the guy over one of those because he just comes say, I get it, but you're killing me on this. What can we do about it? But they work through it with you. And that's the big difference, between, and sometimes you don't want problems. Nobody wants them. We do everything we can to avoid them. But so I've always felt like, I guess this is looking at the silver lining in a cloud, but you're going to have them. So when you have them, what an opportunity. Because if everything's going great, of course they love you. If they're going great with your competitor that they were buying from, they love them. Everybody loves everybody when it's all going great. Like you said, in a relationship with marriage, when the laughs are there, it's all great. It's when it's not that you got to get through it. So sometimes the only way you can show somebody that we're the right people for you is when those mess ups happen, right? Because now is your chance to prove this is why I buy from us versus somebody else. Because man, that was pretty seamless. It sucked. I didn't like that happened, but nobody could have done better, man. That was just, there was Johnny on the spot. They took care of it. They went out of their way. And so if you turn that into a negative into a positive, it's a winning time with that customer, right?
Yeah, it is. I think the customers know when you're also just placating, when you're just telling them what they want to hear. I think that's where the genuine aspect of it comes in. Is if I can look at you as a person and not just a dollar, then I'm going to care whether you succeed. And customers know. And they if you're working with a partner that you help them, but they can see in your eyes that you just did it for that reason only. The relationship's still there, but you've only gotten 50%, 25, 10% of the value of them knowing that you're honest and you're not just doing it because they might come back next week. You're doing it because it's the right thing, and you're doing it because you care that they succeed. And also understand these contractors, sometimes they're going to have to pay for it out of pocket. even if it's their mistake, if you can help them, you may not be able to eat their mistake. That's a long ways to loyalty.
Exactly.
I had a customer, first he contacted us, and don't go telling everybody I'll do this because I may never do it again. But he had gotten he made a mistake. He wasn't even our customer. This has been 15 years, and he wasn't even our customer. And he said, I messed up. He said, I accidentally quoted, I sold copper penny instead of standard paint. He said, and I said, well, so let me see what I can do for you. And I wasn't able to sell him copper penny for the same price as standard, but I know that was before we had a store in Asheville. And last I heard, he was still buying in Asheville because of that one opportunity where he screwed up, and a vendor that had never worked with him before said, hey, I can't sell it to you for the regular price, but let me see if I can help you get out of a pinch.
Right.
It's those little opportunities that are, we don't make a lot of money on it, but we sure gained
a
lot of money on it.
You know, I love that story because I've said it many times. One of my favorite calls to get is somebody calls and says, hey, Randy, I know you've been around a long time. I don't know if you handle this, but I know you probably could help me figure out where to get it. I will work, I don't want to say harder, but I'll work every bit as hard to try to find that, kind of to your story, to help them get it. Call a competitor and say, hey, I'd rather you didn't try to steal my guy here if you could. You know, a little courtesy would be cool, but can you take care of him for me, please? Because he really needs this. I can't do it. Right. And that thing goes, I mean, you can't put a price tag on that. Right. But see, that's being something that people talk a lot about, a code word here that people use but don't always practice, which is being customer centric, right? We're thinking about, we can't give away the farm, but if we also build relationships, you can say that dreaded 2-letter word no, if you can't do it, and explain why you can't do it. And if you have the relationship, they'll understand, but I can. There's always that too. There's the no, and then there's, but here's what I could do, right? And find a way. But we have to be customer centric. And I like to look at it as, if there's an issue, let's say, well, why can't I help you out? As opposed to automatically, well, that's not our policy. Well, that goes against our procedure, or we can't do that. Well, maybe that's not what you normally do. Yeah. But maybe we could to help you out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, the things that if you're not careful, you put yourself in a box and you say, okay, this is an SOP. This is a policy. And those things are important. Those things are helpful.
Of course they are.
But if you make that into the ultimate every situation, then you will not be willing to leave a piece of trim outside the fence for somebody. You won't be willing to stay an extra 20 minutes. You won't be willing to ask a driver to do something that is safe, but may not be on their normal route. So there's like these, those are the times that if they know you went over a little bit above and beyond, you don't have to brag about it, but they, then that's where I think, to me, that's the giving the roses they didn't expect.
Exactly. And those unexpected gifts are always the fun ones, right? You know, you always expect to get something on your birthday, probably from certain people, but if they all of a sudden just dropped you off something because, hey, I was just thinking about you, I just thought I'd bring this over. That's the big deal. Two things I want to touch on before we run out of time, because I want to be cognizant of your time. Where do you see automation going now? Where do you see new product? Where do you see, because I mean, are we not in one of the most exciting times in our industry? And I come from a time where everything's exciting, because when I used to build pole barns 2.5 million years ago, it was galvanized roof and neoprene nails and no overhangs. I mean, it's pretty plain stuff, right? But boy, the automation, the new products that we're coming out with is revolutionizing our industry, isn't it?
It is. I think we think about the Southeast, and it's kind of like everything else. It starts somewhere and it grows outward. And you got standing seam that starts in the Northeast and it kind of keeps spreading. And then you got every other kind of metal roofing that you can imagine, and then standing seam that's feels like in the southeast. You think about all the high winds in Florida, and it's spreading. And then more recently with siding, one of my favorites is just seeing the siding that isn't barn tin spreading, lap siding. We've got board and batten that is spreading, and it's exciting because it makes sense, because me and it makes sense. But it's explaining that to a homeowner, and seeing that them be able to open up to the possibility of not worrying about their grill melting their vinyl siding.
Right.
Not worrying about the weed eater knocking holes in stuff. Not worrying about repainting hardy board.
Exactly.
In 15, 20 years. So I think I see more hidden fasten products growing. Not saying the through fasten doesn't have a spot. You use some really good lifetime screws and it can do really well.
Right.
But I see the standing seam and hidden fastens in siding growing. Barn doors have just. If you told me 15 years what barn doors would be right now, I wouldn't have laughed, because I would have believed you, but I wouldn't have thought it would be that soon.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have thought it would have been this big this soon.
Yes,
and then even we work with a great company called Wind River that does tiny homes, and it's a different type of tiny home though. And I think that to me, those barn dominiums, tiny homes that are built to last, not the ones that it's not your yesterday's tiny homes.
Right.
And then also we're seeing seeing a lot of corrugated modern contemporary style homes. So it's completely different than what you'd see with the barn dominium. But I see those continuing to grow, and be they're not going to replace other home styles, but be right there with them.
Yeah. You're right. The amount of growth, and I've had the pleasure of spending some time with several of the really great barn door people, the influencers of the industry, if you will, and to be on site and see some of the stuff they do. When barn doors first started, I know up in Michigan, it was a 30 by 40, maybe a little porch, and it was basically it was a pole barn that you kind of dialed up a little bit to make it a home, kind of. That's not the case anymore, man. I've been in some of those, and as you have, you supply them. They're every bit of much a home as anything else you do, and they're amazing and flexible, and the opportunities. So let's finish up with this one. What excites Nathan about the next 15 years in this industry? Because you got a long time in this industry yet, so let's just go to the next 15. What's exciting? What excites Nathan? Let's end on that. We'll give you some parting words too, but let's end on that one. What's exciting to Nathan for the next 15 years in the industry?
What excites me is to see a group of builders, and especially roofers, that have the level of expertise that 10, 20 years ago, you'd have had to drive 3 hours to find. And we're seeing young roofing contractors, siding contractors that are dedicating the time to building businesses that I can have confidence that I can recommend somebody that's going to do it the way I would want it done in my home. And I think if you can have the product, but if you don't have that level of contract and workmanship, in the next 15 years, I believe the teaching and the opportunity for them to see a way to make a great living for themselves and their families, is what I'm probably the most excited about as a teacher, and as someone that doesn't like to see temporary roofing wall cladding. That I know that sounds it sounds silly, but if we don't have the installers, we got nothing. And I think I see a generation of installers that's coming up, that's pushing hard and doing it right.
That is exciting, because you're right. If you can't get it installed, you don't need to make metal, and if you don't make metal, I can't sell people like yourselves fasteners or closures or anything else. I mean, we all just sit here and do nothing, right? So it all starts with that installation, and good installation, because if you don't have good installation, I've said this a million times, and I'm sure you agree. At the end of the day, if you have the opportunity, I would really like if you'd buy my stuff from me.
Mm.
But wherever you buy it, I hope you have a great experience. And I
Yeah.
hope it's the best building you ever did, because I need that metal roof and I need that fastener you use, and whatever it is, to be the best ever, because that's a centerpiece of the industry, right? We don't want people saying, "Well, yeah, I heard about metal roof, but Joe over there had a terrible time because it was either somebody used bad materials or because somebody didn't install it properly." That hurts all of us, right?
That's
And
right.
so we need to make sure that we elevate our game, and I think we have. And I love that you said that and you're seeing that, because I think it's a game that young people want to be in again now, which I think it's exciting. So
Well, they're making good money.
yes,
And that's the thing. Like, you see so many people coming out of college, they're making far less than the trades,
Yes.
and that's how it should be, because they're working their butts off to build
Mhm.
this.
Yeah, they are. Exactly. Well, Nathan, you know what? You guys are doing world-class stuff down there, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you guys do. Before we end up here, I got an SAQ for you, a should-ask question. And what is it that we didn't touch on today? If you want to go there, let's go there. If you're like, geez, Randy spent 45 minutes with me, never asked me this, I wish he would have. Or what do you just, when you're out talking to groups, talking to contractors, talking to anybody about what you do, about the industry, what do you wish people would ask you about that you'd like to expound upon a little more?
Yeah, I think two groups, homeowners and contractors. I'm gonna answer you two questions.
Okay.
In one. For homeowners, it's just, have you seen a good metal roof? They've all seen metal roofs all over the place, but if I can show them the metal roof of the century, that to me, from a homeowner side, you can get into homeowner associations with the right installer
Mm-hmm.
and the right visual of what it's going to look like. Have you seen a great metal roof? And we have some visualizer products that'll help them do that for their home. But if they can't picture on their home, I've got no chance.
Right. Yep.
And then for installers, the question that I always ask of shingle installers is, are you willing to invest? And usually for them, it's more investing in their first standing seam roof, their first siding roof, their first steel siding, is because if you quote everything based on hours and it's going to take you twice as long in the first few, then you're not willing to invest your time to learn the product, then you're not going to see the rewards that are here and coming. And I think that's for them. If you can get them thinking about the product, they haven't been willing to sit down. A metal shingle there's shingles that are not as complicated as people think, but they've never tried them before, and they don't see that opportunity. There's people that have never installed a standing seam roof, and if they're not willing to take a risk, make that investment into a new category, then they'll never be there.
Right.
And that to me is will you make that investment? Will you try it? Will you go to the class so you're more confident? So when you start on your first standing seam roof, when you get to the chimney detail, and you're ready, but you're going to slow down, make the time investment to learn it right, to look at the small things and the big things right.
Love it. Invest in yourself. There's a time for that, right?
If you don't do it now, you probably won't do it later.
Right. Right.
And
then you'll
well,
then you'll be doing, you're saying is you'll be doing the same thing you've been doing, maybe not happy, not making the money you wanted to make, wondering why, because you didn't invest on that job 3 years ago, or 2 jobs or 3 jobs, and understand there's a time, there's a curve there, right? Yeah. You're probably not going to be an expert on the first job. And if you took we all know standing seam, if you took the first job was this massively cut up, complicated one, whatever you bid, you're probably better be prepared to not make any money, right? That's just the investment, right? But equally, if your first job, which makes sense, in a perfect world, probably is that very simple little ranch job with a couple dormers that's kind of easy. But you also didn't learn everything you needed to learn yet either. So don't get too cocky with it yet either, because you still got more to learn, right? So it's a time frame that you got to work through, right? I think what you're saying.
I think that's where what my hope is that manufacturers will take the time to go alongside those contractors and show them what they need to do, and be willing to say, hey, here's a picture of this tricky detail. What do I do here? I think that's, I remember so many times with taking Photoshop and PowerPoint and just layering it down.
Yep.
Water's going to go from top to bottom. It's got to be layered from bottom to top. You get to this point and just make sure these things look about like this. And I've had, they'll take the metal trim and tuck it over each other and send me a picture. We'll work with you. I think that if for manufacturers, especially in contractors that have a new crew, just going alongside them to give them that confidence that they can do it right, and it's not going to be one of those hack jobs that they're going to be regretting in 5 years or next month.
And the key there with the contractor too, then is, and then I will let you get out of here, but the key to that is to working with good people like yourself that's willing to invest in them as well, because they need to have the confidence that I may not know everything, but there's somebody, these guys can help me. If I get into a real jam, I got somebody that can help me. And I think as builders, network with other contractors. Some may not help you because you're a competitor, but there's a lot of contractors that have done 50 roofs and they know what they're doing, and reach those guys out. Go to the little events that they go to the trade shows, and spend time on the show floor, the demo floors, the learning events. Because there's a lot of guys you could just call them up and say, hey, Bill, I met you last year at MetalCon, right? Oh, yeah, we had a coffee in the lobby, right? I got a mess. I don't know what to do with this. There's a lot of that, too, that we can do, or builders can do, if they invest the time to network and know people, right?
And that's who and being willing to open yourself up to who you know. I think that's one thing I loved about platforms such as LinkedIn. If people will share things that will benefit the whole community, places, events like MetalCon, even shows like the one we're on now. If you're not willing to share, you're tucked in your own box. You won't learn, and others won't learn from what you could have shared. And it's phenomenal. I love the opportunity to hopefully add some value to somebody's life, and maybe it'll come back to me from them. Maybe it never will, but to push our industry forward is important.
Right. Yep. Continue giving without expectation, man. That's what it's all about. It all comes back. Nathan, I appreciate you, my friend. It's been a great conversation. Every bit, even more than I expected. So there you go. It's a compliment. It was very good. I appreciate it. So
enjoyed it, Randy.
All right. You be good, and we'll talk soon. Thank you for being on. So, folks,
take care, Randy.
You got it, buddy. So there, my good friend, Nathan Libbey with Best Buy Metals out of the Carolinas and the Virginias, not the Virginias, the Carolinas and Tennessee and a little bit of Georgia, because I know where Dalton is because they have carpet down there. Shows how smart I am. But anyways, loving what I do, doing what I love, live it, own it. You know all the stuff, but the most important is to make the rest of your day the best ever. Till tomorrow. Let's go.